Okay. All right, guys. There we go. We are all set. Got quite a nice crowd here. Praise the Lord. We want to welcome all of you once again to VoiceOver In and Out iOS Edition. I am trainer Matt Volbricht of TTJ Tech Services at www.ttjtech.biz. We're so glad to have you. And welcome aboard for today. This is Monday, October the 24th. And we are about to unmute trainer Sarah. I just heard her come in, so bear with me a moment while we get her unmuted and we'll get things rolling. Working on it there, Sarah. There we go. There we go. All right, great. We're in good shape. So when you're unmuted, and we're all set. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, real good.
I'm glad that you try to unmute and it doesn't work, and it's not just me.
No, it's not just you. It seems like and as I said, this has been a long-standing thing. It's nothing new, but we probably hadn't discussed it as a group. But just every now and then the cursor seems to jump around whenever you're trying to specifically unmute people, or
Exactly.
tap on a person's
Yes.
name to unmute them. Yeah.
Right. As you were trying to unmute me, I was thinking about how, sometimes I tell people to slow down, and I was thinking, oh, that's maybe what I should be doing. Slow down. Take my own advice.
And that's definitely that's definitely a possibility. I haven't played with that because, of course, when we're in this setting, I'm trying to do it quickly. So maybe, that's a definite thought. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, how was your rest of your week?
Lots of computer stuff and frustration and dealing with Apple accessibility. My Pages app, I was transferring documents and I call it tangled up. It got tangled up, and I'm sure there's a better way of putting it, but it took us about 3 hours to untangle it and delete it. I'm going to tell you all the things that don't sound appropriate to a tech person, but we unhitched it to iCloud and then we untangled it and deleted Pages and then got it back on. And after, another whatever, how many hours, finally got it to work again.
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
Yeah. So that's how my week was. And yours?
Well, ours was very good. This is one of the coming up on here now, the one of the busiest weeks of the year for us. Actually, my parents were here. Both Jessica and I have birthdays this month, so we had my parents in and the families together, went out to dinner, that sort of thing, and then. This
Nice.
is the week of like every Halloween parade and trick or treat and trunk or treat that exists, it's week because we're on Halloween week. So it's a lot of fun. it's always a tremendous amount of fun, but it is one of the busiest weeks that I can think of. In some respects, even busier than holiday weeks, Christmas and so forth, because there's pretty much something every day, sometimes multiple things. And
I have to say, that is one reason I'm grateful for my kids being grown, is I don't have to do Halloween anymore.
Oh, well, we really enjoy it. And our kids, we started doing a Halloween party also, which is just, food and a scavenger hunt and all that sort of stuff. So we're getting ready for that this coming weekend too. So
that's smart.
Yeah. So I like it.
Your kids close.
It's a lot of fun. Praise God. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody, we are just moving right along. If you have checked out YouTube recently, you know that we've been uploading a lot of the content from all of the previous classes. You can go back and refresh your memory if you need to, or if you missed a session. Also, we did, and I won't get into it extensively for the sake of time, but for those of you who were with us a couple of times last week, I mentioned at least once that I needed some time to look through the new product announcements that Apple released, and then I would give an opinion. And I have since done that. I posted a video last evening, more like early this morning, I suppose. It was pretty late, and I posted that to YouTube, and it discusses all of the new products, the iPad 10th generation, the iPad Pro, and the Apple TVs, and how I feel about those. Are they worthwhile upgrades? Does it make sense? All that stuff, and kind of went over spec for spec what you can expect from those models, as well as, my personal opinion for what it's worth on whether it makes sense to upgrade. So you can check that out on YouTube. And along those lines, I do want to mention to you that, we always offer, and we will continue to offer these classes for free. And in addition to that, we do have paid services. Some of you know, for individual training and so on. And this time of year that we are about to enter into is a very important time for anybody looking to get paid training or to renew paid training, because we offer significant discounts, primarily starting Black Friday and going right through to the beginning, the end of the year into the new year. So that Christmas and holiday shopping season, we always have some tremendous discounts, promotions, and in addition to that, and sort of in conjunction with that, we release a holiday gift guide every year in November. We release it before Thanksgiving so that you have time to kind of get your ducks in a row to start making purchases. And what we do is we offer a complete holiday gift guide for all kinds of tech stuff, anything from Apple products to smart home devices, and even some other electronics and music technology and stuff all tend to make it into the holiday gift guide every year. I think personally that the 2022 holiday gift guide is going to be the best one yet. And so I'm excited for all of you to hear it. We discuss it on YouTube, as well as posting it on our website, ttjtech.biz. So as long as you're subscribed to the newsletter and the YouTube channel, you will know exactly when that holiday gift guide is released. Plus, I will mention it here. We're just a few weeks away from that, and you won't want to miss it, because when we release that, of course, one of the services that we offer is shopping assistance. And so we will help you to purchase by finding the best deals for you for the products that you want. And of course, as I said, there are discounts on TTJ services then that go along with those. We also tend to offer extended support hours during that time so that you can get help setting up all your new toys when you do get them. So don't miss that. You want to stay in touch with us. Make sure you are subscribed. A few people, though not most people, but a few people had some issues subscribing. We did post a YouTube video on how to subscribe. And I actually went through it step by step with VoiceOver, because I think I figured out why some people are saying it's not working for them. I think that they're going too far up on the page, because the subscription, when you choose to subscribe to the TTJ newsletter, it's like what's called a modal. It pops up at the very bottom of the page. And a lot of times, if you don't know that and you tap up higher, you're thinking nothing happened, because the rest of the page is unchanged. It doesn't take you to a new page and say you have successfully subscribed to the TTJ. It's nothing like that. Plus, Shopify seems to give us an error, which is totally unrelated and does not affect your ability to subscribe. But people see that error and then they definitely think there's a problem. And, we've been in touch with the engineers about that. They're not sure why it's happening. It'll get resolved eventually, but we don't even use Shopify. We definitely don't use Spotify either. We don't use Shopify. So I'm not sure why that appears there. Maybe that's why, because we don't use it, and it's very upset with us for not using it. But nonetheless, it's an integration that's available to us and we don't choose to use it, so that you can ignore. But the video is up there on YouTube. If you haven't yet been able to subscribe to the TTJ newsletter, the new newsletter, please check out that video, because I really do want everybody subscribed to the new newsletter. Okay, that's where things are going to go going forward, so we need you subscribed to that. Now, I think that's all of the housekeeping stuff. Oh, no, there is another one. Just a little bit ago, about 1 p.m. Eastern, roughly, Apple released major updates, okay? Version 16.1 for iOS. Also, iPadOS has finally been released now to be brought in line with iOS. It is 16.1, so you can download iPadOS now. New features are available. iCloud shared photo library, live activities for third-party apps, although those app developers will have to implement those. Just general improvements overall. And I think there's a bunch of new features that I'm not thinking of, but I've been using it a while. So download those at your convenience. And along with iPadOS and iOS, of course, there have been updates to tvOS, HomePod software, watchOS, and now also Mac OS Ventura has been released. I told you last week to be on the lookout for an announcement about the Mac OS VoiceOver class that will be coming this week, along with the ability to register. So stay tuned for that, because now that Ventura is out, we can really get rolling on Mac OS as well. So stay tuned. Just remain subscribed to the newsletter and you will get the notice. All right. Sarah, any other announcements you can think of? I think that's the bulk of it, right?
I think you covered it. I'm excited about the iPad update. Have you?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Do you already have it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Are you pleased with it?
I am, and I really have been the whole time. It was delayed, and a lot of people feel it was delayed due to a certain feature called Stage Manager. But I think Stage Manager really is more of a visual thing, because it allows us to have 4 apps running on the screen simultaneously, more if we use an external display. And so these M1 and M2 iPads, the Pros and the Airs and so forth, can do this. The rest of the folks can continue to use slide over and split view for multitasking, if they do it at all in that regard. And I've been perfectly happy with that anyway. So yeah, I've loved iPadOS and the new version. A lot of great features, and of course it brings everything in line with where iOS is too. So
yeah, and those of us
update
with just the M1 chip, is there any reason in the VoiceOver world that we would want them to?
Well, the M2, it's a tough call, because there's a lot of great features in the Pro, and this is something I discuss in that video I just released early this morning. But it is, I think if you've got the latest generation iPad Pro, well, that was the latest until a week ago. I don't think there's an urgent reason to upgrade. having said that, M2 is faster again, which is hard to even imagine because M1 is, still off the charts. But M2 takes that even further. M2 adds a special media engine for hardware accelerated decoding and encoding of video. So for people who do a lot of video editing on their iPads, it definitely makes sense because not only that, but they can now actually shoot in ProRes format, which is a very high end, professional grade format. So you've really got, as Apple put it, a video studio right in your hands. So, so for people that do that, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And the Wi-Fi standard has been improved. They're the only Apple device, the iPad Pros now, to feature Wi-Fi 6E, which is the newest Wi-Fi standard that's available right now to consumers. And to me, that's not a reason in and of itself to update, but it's a good thing that it's happening. And then there's a cool feature for folks who use the Apple Pencil. There's a cool feature called Hover, which lets you kind of hold the pencil within a few millimeters of the screen without actually touching the screen. And you can kind of preview what you're going to draw before you actually draw it. And apparently what we're seeing today is the embargo has been lifted on reviewers. So some of these reviewers have gotten their hands on these iPads already. And what they're saying is that the hover feature is more than just what it's been advertised to be. It also kind of allows you to control iPad OS. And so I'm getting the impression that it's almost like these air gestures right above the screen, which is kind of interesting. I don't suppose that most of us who are totally blind will make much use of that, but it's really neat to see. So, it's a solid upgrade. I don't know if it's an essential upgrade for people like you that already have the, 2021 iPad Pro. But it's certainly
and
a solid.
Also for those of us who keep our feet on the ground. I mean, I'm not making any, huge movie releases or, becoming Van Gogh or anything. So I think I'm okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, now that we've gotten all of that taken care of, my friends, we're going to start talking today about messages. We've been talking about predictable patterns in apps since day one of this class, right? Since the very first session, we've mentioned that, we've made reference to that, how you can learn for yourself how to navigate. You can explore a new app. You don't have to have step-by-step instructions on every app. You can apply what you know about these VoiceOver fundamentals to every app that you use, every website that you visit, and so on. And when we come across an app that we feel is really essential and really important, we are going to teach that to you step by step, but we're going to teach it from the perspective of the predictable patterns and how we can explore this app. And anytime we teach an app, it's also important to recognize that there's no possible way we could teach every feature. It's just not practical, and we don't have the time to do that. So we're still going to be more kind of exploring the possibilities, but I think we're going to give you enough in-depth knowledge of messages that you will be able to do a lot with it. We've kind of chosen messages as one of our early apps because we feel that it's so important. Apple says it's one of the most used apps on their devices. I'm sure they're right. And, what we feel is that there are so many features in messages, right? So we want to spend a little time with it. Now, Trainer Rita, who I don't think came in yet, has done a very, very extensive set of documents on messages. And over the years, we've refined that together. And it is a very powerful, very thorough document that she's created. And I'm pretty sure she has updated it already for version 16. And you will be able to access that. But we're going to talk about it today, and we're going to demonstrate it. Now, Before we get into actually using the app, we want to talk about the kind of messages that are handled by the app called Messages. You've seen a Messages app on your phone, and some of you know this already. But for our new folks especially, it's important that we go over this. This is not your email app. That app is called Mail. This is not your voicemail app. Voicemail messages are found in the phone app. What messages does the Messages app actually handle? Well, it handles text messages. But that's not the end of the story, because there are several different types of text messages, and this app handles them all. So we need to learn about them so that we understand what the capabilities of each are. There are basically, and we could go further than this, and we could, get into philosophical debates and all kinds of things that I really don't want to use this class for. So we're going to keep it pretty simple and just say there are basically three kinds of messages that this app handles, and just leave it at that. There's SMS, MMS, and iMessage. All right. Again, SMS, that's like Sierra, Michael, Sierra. That's short message system, the short messages. We'll talk about what that is. MMS, or multimedia messages, and then iMessage, which is Apple's own messaging system. iMessage is definitely my favorite. It's definitely the best, and it's what you'll typically use when you are communicating with other Apple users. iMessage is Apple device to Apple device, but it still uses that very same Messages app that you send and receive all your other messages in. So if somebody says to you, contact me via iMessage, they simply mean use the Messages app, and I just happen to be an Apple user, so I want you to use iMessage to contact me. You won't even have to worry about specifying that, because when you start entering contact information for a particular person, the system knows when someone is an iMessage user, when someone is an Apple user, or when they're not, and it automatically makes the correct selections for you. So you don't ever have to worry about that. But when somebody says contact me by iMessage, what they mean is use the Messages app, right? So three kinds: SMS, MMS, and iMessage. The simplest, the most basic of all of those is the SMS. SMS is a standard text message that you can send and receive. People have been doing it for decades, and it includes all kinds of phones, all right? Your old flip phones can send and receive text SMS messages. Remember those days when you had to press, like, the letter A was on the number 2 button, but so was B and C. So if you wanted to enter a C, you had to press 2 3 times quickly. Remember those days? So HI to spell high was 44 and then 444, all real quick. Those are SMS, okay? But you don't have to do that way, obviously, because you have an iPhone. You got an on-screen keyboard. But I'm saying to you that even those most basic, most utilitarian type phones can indeed send and receive SMS messages. Now, there are serious limitations to SMS. You cannot have very long messages. If you do, what will happen is, they're fine on the iPhone, by the way. The iPhone will display them properly, but the other person, they will be split up into multiple messages when they receive them, if they don't have an Apple device or a modern recent device. And so they'll split it up into multiple messages, and when they send the messages to you, they may come that way also, because there are character limits. I don't remember what the character limit is for SMS, but it's very, very small. SMS messages do not support attachments. They don't support any rich content. It's all strictly text. Okay. So that's where the whole term text message came from. And I believe it's probably part of the reason, and there may be other reasons, sure, but I believe it's part of the reason why people started using some of these abbreviations that, some of us maybe are still baffled by, right? When we see TTYL, for talk to you later, which that one is almost so old now that it's ubiquitous, right? But those kinds of things, I believe probably came from the low character count, the character count limits in SMS messages. If you are texting just plain text to a non-Apple device, those messages probably will be sent as SMS messages. And the next step up from that is MMS. MMS came to the iPhone back in 2009, and people were very, very excited when it did. because what it did is it takes the standard text messages and adds some great features to elevate it a little bit. And one of the most important features that it adds is the ability to send and receive multimedia content. So video and picture messages. Back in the day when they were first developed, that's what you heard of. Oh, my new flip phone can send picture messages. Well, that's MMS, and you can attach a photo, a video, and a couple of other types of file formats. Not very many, but there are a few. And I don't recall that we have a table that we actually developed, and it's, I think, included in Rita's documentation, that lists every feature and which service supports it. I, off the top of my head, think that maybe the character count is lifted or significantly increased anyway in MMS. So if you're, but I may be wrong about that. Don't hold me to that. If you are sending and receiving a message that has both text and media, it's automatically going to be an MMS, right? So those are sort of the next step, and they do support group messages. If you're sending and receiving a group message, it's automatically MMS, even if it is only text, because standard SMS does not support group messaging. So when you send a group message to folks who are not Apple users, then it becomes an MMS. And VoiceOver will even say that, I think. I'm pretty sure I've heard it say group MMS. All right. And then on a
Matt,
whole different... Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that people should know is that you don't have to go in and choose those differentiations, right? I mean, you basically text somebody, and if it's an Android that you're texting to, it will choose its own. I mean, it's not going to ask you, how do you want to send this?
Right. So just, to reiterate that whenever you pick a contact or enter a phone number, then the system automatically knows and makes the correct selection.
And what happens to me is when I forget and I send a long text to somebody who's an Android user, it just says, it doesn't deliver it in bunches or batches. It just says undelivered. And then I have to go in myself, copy it, and break it down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And maybe it's a setting in my phone, but that's basically what happens. And I don't get certain messages from people as well.
I'm curious about that. Yeah.
So that never happens to you when you text somebody with an Android? It just goes in batches?
Yeah. To my recollection, yes. I'm trying to remember.
Interesting.
I don't think yeah. But that's interesting.
Yeah.
So be aware of that. If that happens to you, you may need to break up your message into multiple parts yourself. So that is, again, primarily in this day and age, there are still probably a couple flip phones around, but primarily, it's Apple and Android. Those are the two big players by far now. And so if you're sending and receiving with Android users, it's going to be SMS or MMS. Now, when we get into all Apple, so Apple device to Apple device, and it doesn't matter whether it's iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, but Apple device to Apple device gets to use Apple iMessage. And Apple iMessage adds a ton of features, just unbelievable amounts of features. First of all, of course, we can still send and receive video and photos, but the limit for size is much greater. Now, there is still a limit on video size, okay? And sometimes you'll see where you're asked to trim a video, or something like that. But, there are other ways to send those videos if they're too big for iMessage. We'll talk about what those ways are later. But, there are still limitations, but they're increased. You also can send audio attachments, and I'm not even talking about voice recordings within messages yet. You can also do that in iMessage, but I'm saying you can attach an audio file. And sometimes that works in MMS and sometimes it doesn't. Just depends on what the other person has. But with Apple devices, you definitely can. So if you got a voice memo recorded or a GarageBand project or something you want to share as audio, not a problem. You can also send PDFs. Really, you can send any file attachment, by the way, as long as it does not exceed whatever the limit is. And so you are able to send, pretty much anything, a pages document, a recipe, some kind of random file, whatever it is, you can send it. The important thing also I should point out before we get too far here is that iMessage also uses Wi-Fi. So if you're not on Wi-Fi, it is going to use your cellular data, but it's not going to use your message count. Now, most of us have unlimited texting now with our cell phone plans. There are very few, if any, cell phone plans that have limitations on the number of texts we can send. But those are specifically MMS and SMS. If you are sending and receiving iMessages, the carriers don't recognize those as texts. So they don't qualify for your unlimited texting. Instead, they count against your data. And if you're on Wi-Fi, of course, then they use Wi-Fi instead of cellular data. So just keep that in mind. Now, some of the other things you can do with these, of course, there's no limit to the number of characters you type. So you just send whatever you want to send and whatever you want to say. You have all the attachment support, as I mentioned. You have a lot of really cool features that we're going to get into later on, like stickers, messaging apps, iMessage apps, sending money, receiving money, recorded voice. I mentioned that a moment ago. You can, record your own voice. You can take photos and videos right inside the message. You can do Animoji and Memoji, which we'll talk about what those are. And also, in addition to all of these features, you have the ability to send message effects. And these are, like you can have the message become very big on the person's screen, and it can sort of sparkle, or it can light up, or it can move across the screen in really cool ways. And so these are very, very useful, and VoiceOver works well with them also. And then another thing with iMessage, my friends, is that you also have the ability to use these various, I mentioned iMessage apps. You can leave likes for a message that's been sent to you. They call them tap backs. So you can like a message, or you can give it a thumbs up, a heart, something like that. You can see when your message has been delivered. That's another feature that's available to iMessage users that's not available to MMS and SMS. You can actually see when that message has been delivered. And if the recipient has enabled it, you can even see when they've read the message. Now, some people don't like to enable that feature because they feel that, that's kind of a private thing. They don't want the other person to know exactly the moment that they opened that message and read it, but other people do have it enabled. So that depends. But you can also see when the person is typing, if you happen to be inside the message conversation when they are responding. You can see a typing indicator, and VoiceOver will tell you that as well. So there's just so much to iMessage, and it is a really, really important feature. And I would also point out there are some benefits to group iMessage. Now, the only way to have a group iMessage is if everybody in that group is an Apple user. As soon as you add one non-Apple user to the group, then you instantly have a group MMS instead of an iMessage group. But if everybody's an Apple user, then that is an iMessage group, and that enables some additional features as well. It enables the ability to name your conversation. So if you have a group chat with people, maybe you're discussing a specific upcoming birthday party or retirement dinner for somebody, or maybe it's planning a beach vacation, or you are a work project, right? Any of these anything you can think of that you might want to have a group conversation, you can name that group chat so that everybody knows this is the beach vacation chat, this is the book club discussion, whatever. So that is a nice feature, and it's not the only iMessage group feature. There's the ability to actually turn a group conversation into a group video call, a group FaceTime, or just audio if you want, and you can have quite a number of people in that group. So lots of options with iMessage, and lots of great features. And again, just, this is the third time we're saying it, but just to really stress what Sarah brought up a few moments ago, a very good point, that we don't have to choose. When you type in a contact or enter a phone number, you are going to automatically be given the correct format. Is it iMessage? Is it MMS? Whatever it needs to be, or will be determined for you. Now, you can tell.
Also, I wanted to mention that when you can see that somebody else, or hear that somebody else is typing you a message, it says buddy is typing, which I cracks me up.
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't figure out what it was doing, and I just realized it's just an anonymous name. The person is talking, but I just think it's funny that they chose buddy as typing.
Yeah, I suspect that came from the days of various chat services like AOL Instant Messenger, which of course doesn't even exist anymore, but that used the term buddy, and there were probably others that did too. So yeah, yep.
Funny.
Yeah. Now the messages app is where we deal with all of these things, and we'd like to begin to show it to you and sort of discuss how to use a lot of these features. And again, we're just kind of showing the possibilities, right? We can't teach this step by step, but hopefully you will see the exploration process and you will combine that with what you know about VoiceOver fundamentals and predictable patterns. And one of the things is this is a different kind of app from any that we've really looked at so far. Maybe settings is sort of a list like this, but this is not a tabbed app. This is a list of message conversations. And you open a message conversation by double tapping it, of course, and then you are taken to the actual conversation so you can read back through it, right? So they're all threaded as conversations. So if I'm talking with Sarah, that I can open the message with her and I can see everything we've said to each other unless I delete it. And you can set messages, you can set message conversations to automatically delete or not. I don't think mine automatically delete. I can't remember if I maybe set them to delete after a year. I don't even think I did. I think I keep them, period. And, if you want to delete them manually, of course, you certainly can. But I typically don't delete message conversations. That way I can more easily look back if I need to for some reason. And
I have messages that are from years ago, like whole strings, from groups, of family members that don't even talk to each other right now, or at least in that particular group, like a birthday group or a whatever, you're planning something, as you were saying before. So I have them forever.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that's personal preference. But what we're going to do is open the Messages app here and show that to you. And I've got my phone here, so let's do it.
Doc Messages. Double tap to open.
And I don't have a badge, which means I have not missed any messages. If you get a message and don't open it up, it shows up as a number or a badge count. It'll say messages, one new item, one whatever. It says one unread, but I forget how it words. I think it just says one new item. But however many items there are is the number of messages that you've received since you last opened it and actually went into them. When I open the Messages app,
Messages, double tap. Messages, edit button.
I am immediately placed at the top left of the screen where there is an edit button. There's lots of things we can do from this edit button. It's going to bring up a menu of choices. I will let you hear what they are. Not everything in this menu might make sense to you yet. If you're new to Messages, I will give a brief overview of them for those who are familiar. But for some of you, it may just be, being a little patient and you'll learn what they mean eventually. So let's hit edit and hear what we've got.
Select Messages button. Edit pens button. Edit name and photo button. Dismiss context menu button.
And that's all I've got right now are 3 things in there plus the dismiss button. So the first one was select, I think it was select messages. that allows us to perform different actions on multiple messages at a time. And when it says select messages, it really means select conversations, right? In other words, it's going to display the whole list of all of our message conversations. And if I want to select the entire conversation, I can double tap it and I can select multiple conversations. So this is what's known as a multi-select interface, where I can select, 8 different conversations that I want to delete, that I want to, whatever I want to do with them. And so there are different options once you make those selections. The next option in there was edit pins. And this is something we're going to learn about soon, but you can pin your favorite and most important messages so that they always stay at the top of the list. Again, we're talking about conversations. Sometimes those terms are used interchangeably. I really prefer to stick with the name conversation being the big picture. You open it up and that's, Sarah and Matt talking back and forth. And then the message is one individual message within that string. Hi, how are you? That's one message within the conversation. But the terms are used interchangeably, even by Apple. And I may say the opposite term of what I really intend to say sometimes. So I'll try to always specify. But you can pin conversations to the top of the list so that they always stay there. Your family members,
That's
maybe
actually, that's really important to me anyway. I have my kids up at the top, and anything that they are texting me or need me to know, I know immediately because it's right up there.
Right. So that's a very useful feature. And the edit pins option, I'm guessing will not show up for you unless you already have pinned conversations. And I think you can still have up to 9 conversations pinned at any one time. And so edit pins then allows you to reorder the pins, and which way they appear in the list and so forth. And then the third option was edit name and photo. And this is an iMessage feature. The first time you open up messages ever, you'll probably be asked then and there to create your name and photo the way you want it. But you can edit that information. And this is used for people who do not have you in their contacts. Actually, it's used for people who do have you in their contacts also, but it's kind of automatic and not as big of a deal. This is especially useful for folks who don't have you in their contacts, and you can choose to share your name and photo with them so they know who you are and you don't appear as just a random phone number. And this again is specifically to iMessage, and so you can edit the name and the photo that people will see in iMessage when they're talking with you. And then I think that was the only the last option was just dismiss context menu. There is a fourth option that will sometimes appear if you have any messages that you've deleted. Message conversations now are stored for 30 days, I do believe, before being permanently deleted. That way you can recover a conversation if you didn't really intend to delete it or if you changed your mind. And what happens is under that edit button, there will be an option that says, I think it says view recently deleted. And I don't have any recently deleted, so I didn't have that choice. If I delete a message conversations,
Fred, pinned, main instructor chat, pinned.
I won't delete one of my pinned ones.
Corey,
But here, we can delete this.
Pin. Mark as on.
Now, how am I doing this, by the way? So I've been swiping left and right through the conversations. When I find one that I want to delete, I swipe up and down on it. Remember that rotor actions? Well, delete is there.
Hide alerts, delete.
All these things we'll talk about, but let's delete this.
Alert, this conversation will be deleted from all of your devices. If you delete button.
I should have let that read to you.
This conversation will be deleted from all of your devices. If you report as junk, the conversation will be sent to Xfinity Mobile and Apple.
Okay, now we're going to delete it.
Delete button.
And
conversations 7-4.
It is gone. But now if I go to the edit button and I choose that.
Select messages button. Edit pins. Edit name and photo button. Show recently deleted button.
Now we have that option, show recently deleted. So I'm going to go into that.
Recently deleted heading.
And here I can
done button.
Hit done.
Conversations. Conversations show the days remaining before deletion. After that time, messages will be permanently deleted. This may take up to 40 days. Corey, Rick, +1 814 979.
See, this is a conversation that I can't name because it's some non-Apple users also. So I have these phone numbers that are not in my contacts that are speaking because they're part of this group conversation. And so that's one of the benefits of naming your conversations, but I can't do that with this one. So let's see what it says.
26 messages, 30 days.
Okay, 30 days it's going to stay. And there are 26 messages in that conversation back and forth in that group. Okay, so I can
delete 26 messages. Recover. Drag item. Activate. Default.
I can swipe up and down and use my rotor actions. I also have a button at the bottom here.
Toolbar. Delete all. Button.
I can delete all.
Recover all. Button.
Or I can recover all. So I'm just going to recover all.
Alert. Recover 26 messages. Button.
And
cancel.
There's a cancel button, but we're going to
recover 20.
Recover.
Toolbar. Home dash FE8.
Now what we notice is that we have the edit. And there's no more, we're not in recently deleted anymore because we got all those, either got rid of them or in this case, recovered them. So that's how you use recently deleted. But now how do we actually use messages? So let's keep going. We're back to this edit button, the very top left.
Kylie.
Oops.
Dictate conversation.
We should be back to this edit button. There we go. There's edit. And we swipe to the right.
Messages. Heading.
That's just the title of the app.
Compose button.
At the top right is a compose button. And this is how you can start a brand new message conversation with someone. You're going to be asked to enter their name or their phone number. There's also a button to the, I think it's to the right. We'll look at it. That says add contact. So you can bring up your list of contacts if you want to do it that way. That's not the way I prefer to do it. I'll show you how I like to do it. But that's the compose button. Okay. So
can I just say, can I interject something? It doesn't have to be a new conversation, because when you say compose, basically you put in the name, and it will bring up if you've had a conversation, but you're not sure exactly how long ago, which means it could be way down. So you don't want to just bother looking for it.
If you don't want to have to search through your list of messages and you do type a name in there for an existing conversation.
Yeah, I could type MA, and then underneath that it would be all my contacts that start with MA, probably starting with the last conversation I've had in the text series.
And when you choose one that you already have a conversation with, as you pointed out, it does not start a new thread or a new conversation with them. Instead, it appends to, it adds to the existing conversation, even though you've hit compose. So it will continue the conversation.
Yeah, so you go down, you put MA, and then you find that Matt is top of the list, or maybe he's second on the list, whatever. You just double tap on the one that you want, and voila, it's right there.
Right. So whether it's an existing conversation or a new conversation doesn't matter, because it will do this. Now, if you do know where it is and you don't, you can find it right away. You can also just choose from the list. And some people don't have a list because they delete their conversation. But I do. I'm like Sarah. I keep my messages. So after the compose button.
Compose button. Search field. Dictate button.
So I have some search options here. I can search, or I can do a voice search. And that way I can, search for phrases that might have appeared in a conversation or something. Now I've got my pins. These are all my pins. These are the messages that I always have at the top.
Conversations. Kylie, Carson, pins.
So I've got my kids, and these I think actually started out in alphabetical order, but my daughter wanted to be at the top, so she moved herself to the top on my phone. And so it's Kylie, and then it's Carson, and then I have
family chat pin.
The family chat, which is all four of us, and
Jessica
and my wife there.
Kids chat.
The kids, which is just me and the kids, which I think we initially created when the kids were doing school at home, and I didn't want to bother my wife every time I sent something to the family chat, so we created that. It's useful for birthdays and stuff too.
Megan pinned, Rick pinned, Fred pinned.
So those are some other relatives, friends, what have you. And then
main instructor chat pinned.
There's our main instructor chat. That includes Sarah. It includes Rita, Cliff, Lynn, our TTJ instructor team. So we communicate that way. And that's pinned at the top of my list. And you notice that none of these are saying unread because I don't have any unread messages. If they did, they would specify that there's an unread message there. But they are telling me that they're pinned, so I know that. That should be my last pin. Sorry about that there, guys. That should be my last pin. And so now we're going to get into the regular messages.
Corey, Rick, last
And there's that long one that was a group.
748.
There's a message from the drugstore.
698.
There's a message from UPS. So, and if I let it go, it'll read it, by the way.
69877. UPS 1Z4.
It's reading a tracking number telling me I can expect a package.
989.
There's a message from the school district.
EST, early this morning, week 24.
Some of these are all numbers because I've gotten a bunch of them recently. Here's one from Chili's, so I can listen to the message.
4147. Chili's, football fans, the fun is here. Catch your favorite food, drinks, and games at our bar. Edward Valbrecht, okay, please call Mom.
And there's a message that I got, and it tells me when I got it. That was from my dad. So any of these that I want to go into the conversation, I just double tap. And once I'm in the conversation, I can read more than just the most recent message. See, it's only showing me the most recent message in the conversation, and that could be from me or it could have been sent to me, but it's only going to display the most recent one until I double tap the conversation, and then it opens it up. And what it does is it lets me see all of the messages that I have not chosen to delete, and so now I can just swipe left and right through that entire conversation, however long it might be. And of course I can add to it by sending another message to the person with the edit field there. So we'll give you that example in a moment, but I actually will do something different. I will compose a message. I want to send a message and show you how to start a brand new conversation. Or, as Sarah said, if you don't know where it is, this is an easy way to continue with the same conversation. So I'll use Sarah, and I'll send her a message. So we are going to now. Of course I can use Siri too, by the way, but we're just going to hit compose.
Compose button. To text field. To text field is editing. Character mode. Cancel button.
There's cancel.
New cancel. To text field. Add contact button.
Just to the right of the edit field is add contact. And this is a great way to look through your whole list of contacts, but there's another way that I like even better. And what it is it's exactly what Sarah explained. You start typing and you type the first few letters of the name of the person, if they are in your contacts, that you want to send to. And by the way, even if they're not in your contacts, if they have sent a message to you or, something like that, then this still works, especially if they've shared their name and photo. Group messages that you haven't deleted, group conversations, you can do it that way too. So it's important to understand that there are added benefits to typing it. Even Siri suggestions appear here. The more I type, the more it refines the results. So I will start out by just typing an S for Sarah, but I will, after I type the S, I'll reach up above the keyboard on the screen and I will find the search results that appear starting at sort of the upper left of the screen. I typed an S. We'll tap up here.
To text field, expand option.
I'll swipe to the right from the to button, the add or to field, add contact. Now go to the right.
Results. Suzanne Milton. 81497. Expand options button.
All right. You heard two very important things there. You heard the name of the person. It immediately, if I leave the cursor there, reads what method it's going to use to contact that person. And that's very important because I've actually had customers come to me and say, I tried to send a message to so-and-so and it gives me an error. It says it can't send. And what we realize very quickly is that they are inadvertently sending the message to someone's home phone number or office number or something, and they can't receive texts there. So you need to let it read that to you so you know it's correct. And then if it's not correct, swipe to the right, and there's a little chevron, a little icon that you can double tap to expand. And VoiceOver actually said expand option. Let's listen again.
Expand options button.
And if I double tap on that, it's going to give me all of the choices for that particular person's phone numbers, email addresses, what have you. And you can send iMessages to another Apple device, And also, if the person has it set up this way, maybe even to one of their email addresses or multiple email addresses. I have several email addresses that can receive iMessages. So, just make sure you know what you're choosing. And if it's not iMessage and it's regular, SMS or MMS, then probably it's got to be their cell phone number. But you can go into that expand options and you can pick. That's not the person I wanted to send to anyway. So we'll keep swiping right.
Clifton Antonio Miller Sr. Expand options.
Again, he's got an expand.
Haley Shomo. 814.
See?
Expand
And
options.
expand out. You know what, guys? This is just taking too long. I don't want to wait. I want to get Sarah right away. So I'm going to add a letter, not just the S now. I'm going to type an A. And now let's see what happens when I tap up here.
Results. Add contact results. Sandy Hall. Sarah Potok. Last one.
There she is.
Chevron.
And you
Hallelujah.
notice now.
Circle.
Now, for some reason, that one says chevron forward circle instead of saying expand. I don't know why. I've not figured out the pattern, but it is the expand options button because it is a chevron.
Chevron.forward.circle button.
So I could double tap that to choose other contact info for Sarah. And you notice the first recipient here, Sandy, she did not even have an expand options chevron because I only have one contact method for her. And so that person doesn't have.
Sandy Hall, last one. 8, Sarah Potok.
See, it goes right to the next name because there's nothing for Sandy besides her phone number. So now I'm going to choose Sarah.
Sarah Potok, last one. 2, text field is editing. Sarah Potok.
So I double tapped on that choice. I did not double tap on expand options. I just double tapped on the name because it was correct, I believe. If I want to add more recipients, I just start typing them. So I can repeat the steps again. I can type another name. Let's say I want to send to Trainer Cliff. I type, KLI, or to Rita. I start, and also I can add phone numbers. If you add a phone number, you want to press return after entering the number, but you would enter a 10-digit, area code and number, and then you press the return key. Or maybe it's an international number. You have to dial a prefix, whatever, but you can do that too. All from that to field, and you can just keep repeating those steps as many times as you need to for however many people you want to add. Now, once I am satisfied with it, what you'll notice is I will swipe to the right. You got new iMessage, cancel. There's the to field.
Sarah Potok, plus.
And just to the right, you can see that it now displays the recipients list of who I have already selected. So in this case, it's just one person. It's Sarah. So I've added her, and her name appears just to the right of the to field as one of the recipients. To the right of that is still the add contacts button if I want to do it that way to add more people.
Add contact button.
Now,
messages. Sarah Potok, file type.
What has happened here is I've jumped into the message conversation with Sarah because this is not a new conversation. She and I have talked, and I don't delete the messages typically. So basically, I can read through my existing conversation with Sarah by simply swiping left and right. I can use the 3-finger swipe up and down if the conversation is really long and I want to get quickly to, an earlier or later part in the conversation. But typically, if I touch sort of the middle of the screen, I will find
Sarah Potok, vertical scroll bar, 23 pages, 98% adjustable. Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
Okay, I was going to say I will find the end of the conversation. And the end of the conversation, the more you swipe right, is the newer the exchanges are. In other words, if you've been speaking with each other for 3 years, the most recent conversations there, the most recent messages in that conversation are at the end that is closest to the right as you swipe right. And then what you heard me encounter after the last message with Sarah is a vertical scroll. And that's something that we should learn about. We haven't talked about vertical scroll bars yet. And we should explain what that is. So let's listen to that again.
Sarah Potok, vertical scroll bar, 23 pages, 100% adjustable. Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
Okay. I kind of alluded to it already. You just may not know that. I said a few minutes ago, you can use a 3-finger swipe up and down to scroll quickly through the conversation if it's very long. This is another way to do that. And this is really cool. Sighted users love these vertical scroll bars because they can just grab the scroll bar and swipe up or down. And so can we, essentially. We can just tap on it, bring focus to it, and swipe up and down with one finger. And as we swipe up,
90%, 80%, 70%.
we are going further back. The percentage number gets lower until it gets all the way down to 0, which is the earliest part of that conversation that we could possibly have. If we want, we can swipe back down.
80%, 90%, 100%, 100%.
Okay, that's it. And now if I swipe left, I'm on the very, very last message with Sarah. So the important thing to understand is once you get to the percentage you want, you swipe left with one finger or sort of randomly touch the middle of the screen and you will be where you expected to be. Now, somebody says, well, how do you know?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
As an aside, I just wanted to say, since we already touched on contacts, when you go into your contacts, you can use the scroll bar and it will take you from letter to letter. So when you're going up, it takes you A, B, C. It doesn't, the value isn't in numbers, it's in the letters, which letter that you're, goes letter by letter.
Right, because those are section indexes and they will actually say the letter exactly.
Yeah.
Now, a couple other things about the scroll bar, and the one I was going to say, how, somebody would say to you, how do you know what percentage you should go to get what you want? Well, some of that is just detective work. It's trial and error, right? I mean, you can kind of guess if well, this message was the very first message we ever sent to each other. Obviously, you're going to go to 0, right? And if you say, well, this was,
yeah.
Right, you're just approximating. That's right. And then you have to touch the screen and see. And if you're wrong, you can just, touch the scroll bar again. The other thing I want to cover is somebody says, well, I don't have a vertical scroll bar. Why? Well, because the conversation isn't long enough yet. So it's only when it's needed that appears. It's when there's more than you can see on the screen that you need a vertical scroll bar. So they show up in apps like Messages when they are needed in conversations and so forth. All right, so that's the end of the conversation, which was my original point. If you sort of tap near the middle, maybe a little bit below the middle of the screen even, you'll find that you're at the end of the conversation, as demonstrated by the fact that we ran into the vertical scroll bar. And then
vertical scroll bar, camera button.
We're now to the section.
Take a picture with the camera and attach it to this conversation.
We're now to the section of this conversation where we can start sending things. And the first button we have here is the camera button. If you want to take a photo right now or a video and send it immediately from the conversation, you can choose the camera icon. Let's look at the next one.
Apps button.
The apps button. This appears to the sighted user as like a letter A. This will show or hide what is sometimes called the app drawer or the app bar. Now, what is this all about? Well, we're going to come back to it in a few minutes, but basically, I made reference to this earlier. There are all kinds of iMessage apps that allow you to do additional things. They add additional functionality to enhance the iMessage. It's strictly for Apple to Apple. So maybe we do have a message app that allows us to send existing photos. Maybe we have an iMessage app that allows us to send and receive money with Apple Cash. There's an iMessage app for an emoji, which allows you to, for example, put your facial expressions onto the face of a monkey or a cat or a dog or a bear or a chicken or, other things. And all of these appear as iMessage apps. And in order to access them, you have to show the app drawer or the app bar. And a lot of times when you aren't intending to use them, you may want to hide the app drawer or the app bar just so that it doesn't get in your way when you're trying to do other things. So mine is hidden for right now, but we will explore that a little bit later. So we had camera, we had apps, and then
message, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit. Use the rotor to access misspelled words, mentions. iMessage. Dictate button. Q.
And then we get to the keyboard. Lots of information there. Lots of information. The first thing you heard was the message edit field and it said iMessage, and a swipe to the right again confirmed that it was iMessage. So this is going to change depending on whom you are sending to. And this is how you know, I told you VoiceOver would announce it. If it just says text message, that's where you know it's an MMS or an SMS, not just not an Apple iMessage. So it's going to tell you. And if you can see, the messages that you get will change color, iMessage being blue and non-iMessage being green. And then the ones you send out, I think, are just gray or something. But the message bubble that appears on the screen changes the color of the message bubble depending on what kind of conversation it is. VoiceOver announces it, iMessage, right? We heard that. And then to the right of the edit field, we also had a dictate button. And again, this is another quick way to start dictating in a message. And once you do double tap that button, you can also use your magic tap to stop dictation, just as you always have. But there is still
a if Matt were to do that right now, he would hang up on Zoom. Is that not still the case?
Well, I'm demonstrating on my iPhone, but yes, if I were in the Messages app on my iPad, yes, I would absolutely hang up on Zoom. Yes.
Yeah, just an alert to people who are
That's right. If you're going to be trying this, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And really, you can't dictate while you're on a phone call or any of those kinds of calls anyway, because they prevent, that it's using the same audio, I guess, and it's, it doesn't allow that to happen. So that's your dictate button. And then because the edit field is already open, we have the keyboard on screen already. If we didn't, we would double tap in the edit field to get it, but I'm pretty sure it says
dictate, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit.
Okay, it actually doesn't. So maybe I might be seeing the keyboard still from my, yeah, I think I'm seeing the keyboard from my actual to field where I typed Sarah's name. So we definitely don't want to do that.
Sarah Potop message, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit. Use the rotor insertion point at end.
Now we're in it.
Message, text field is editing. iMessage, character mode, insertion point at start.
All right. And so I can very simply just type a message. I can say, hi, this is a test.
Hi. Test. Vertical apps message text field is editing. Hi. This is a test. Insertion point at end.
And it tells me the insertion. And you heard that you can use the rotor to access misspelled words and mentions. We're going to learn all about using the rotor to edit and, check spelling and so forth later on in this course. Mentions are a messages feature that allow you to see the names of people in a group conversation. If I've got, Sarah and Rita, Lynn, and Cliff all in one conversation, and I mention Cliff by name, either with or without the hashtag, the number sign, he can go through with his rotor and he can see that I've mentioned him 3 or 4 times, or Sarah can do the same, whatever they want to do. So it says use the rotor to access mentions, as well as, of course, the misspelled words you heard there. So that's, kind of for later, but we know we can do that. Now, if I want to, I can tap on the edit field again, sort of the right in the middle, or slightly below, but middle of the screen.
Message text field is editing. Hi. This is a test.
And just to the right,
point at end. Send button.
There's your send button. If I want to keep typing, I can also do that. And what I can do is I can also dictate. Now, even though there's no longer a dictate button on the screen because it's been replaced by the send button, there is a dictate button on my keyboard, which is that microphone icon down at the bottom, or I can use the magic tap. Just make sure your focus is on the keyboard.
Dictate.
There's the dictate button down at the bottom.
To start dictation, return.
See? All right, make sure your focus is on the keyboard, return key, or the dictate button. There's return. Now we have
return. Emoji, dictate, button.
Right, so we can do it that way,
tap to start
or 2-finger double tap, and we can keep going. How are you doing today?
Inserted, how are you doing today?
And it put the question mark there for me. So now my whole message reads.
Message text field is editing. Hi. This is a test. How are you doing today? Character mode. Insert.
Swipe right.
Send button.
And we'll send that.
Send
And
messages.
I don't know if you could hear it, but it made this little sound whenever the message was sent. And I can swipe left through my conversation.
Apps, camera, messages, vertical delivered. Heck, your iMessage. Hi. This is a test. How are you doing today? 3:12 p.m.
Okay.
Actions available.
We can swipe right.
Delivered. Heading level 3.
I can see that the message has been delivered to Sarah's devices. Don't know whether she's read the message yet or not, but it's definitely been delivered. So if I want to leave this conversation, there is a button at the upper left of the screen. And you remember me telling you that it's very important to remember that pattern because the upper left of the screen often contains a back button. And that is very much the case here at the upper left.
Back button. Back button. Back button. Edit. Message received from Sarah. Sarah liked hi. This is a test. How are you doing today?
Okay. What Sarah just sent me was called a tap back. So instead of actually writing a written reply, she did a tap back, which is a like. In this case was a like. That's what she chose to do. So I'll show you how she did that.
But what it actually says is thumbs up, which
yes,
I think it should come up as a thumbs up versus a like.
So the thumbs up is like, the heart is love. There's a laugh. There's several different ones. Yes. And so what she did was a thumbs up, and VoiceOver said, Sarah liked your message. It read the message to me, Now, if I want to open it, that's considered an unread message, even though.
Conversations. 7. Corey, Sarah Potok, unread. Sarah liked hi. This is a test.
Okay. So
how are you doing today?
We will open it.
3:13 p.m. Messages. Your iMessage. Hi. This is a test. How are you doing today? Sarah Potok liked this. 3:12 p.m.
And there's no additional messages because she didn't send a new message. If there were, I'd swipe to the right and I'd find her message after mine. But in this case, it just is right on the same message because she sent the tap back. Now, where are those tap backs located? Well, the way you find them is with the rotor. If you swipe up or down here on the message that you received or the message that you sent, it doesn't really matter. You'll see several options.
React.
And the first one is react. And those are the tap backs. That's where you can react with a like, a love, a heart, all these. So if I go in here.
Heart. Button. Thumbs down. Button. Button. Exclamation mark. Button. Question mark. Button. Message.
So 6 different ones. And then to the right, it shows you.
Message. Hi. This is a test. Reply. Button.
I can also reply there with a message. And the nice thing about a reply, why is that different than just using the edit field? Because those are inline replies. In other words, let's say that Sarah sent me 5 messages in a row. And she said 5 different things. And I want to reply to the third one, not the 5th one. So I can go back to that third message and swipe up and down on it and choose reply or choose react. And then reply also appears there. But reply is another option in the rotor menu as well.
Reply.
And there's the message. So I can choose one of these tap backs. And if I don't want to do it, I can 2-finger scrub. That is putting 2 fingers on the screen and sort of scrubbing very quickly. Oftentimes people say it's like making a Z with your fingers. I found you don't even really have to worry about that. I don't know what a Z looks like, but
from Sarah, happy birthday.
Okay, she sent me a message. It probably has an effect, but I got to get out of this screen that I'm in here. So I'm going to do that Z scrub.
Full screen effect. Multicolored balloons float up from below. Sarah Potok, happy birthday.
Now,
button.
You actually heard that full screen effect, multicolored balloons float up. And there was a little sound effect with it. You probably couldn't hear it over Zoom because VoiceOver was talking over it also. But my phone even vibrated a little bit. It's really, really cool. And so there are certain phrases. We're just kind of, exposing you to, again, all these different possibilities, right? There are certain phrases that automatically trigger effects. Plus, you can manually add some effects. But for example, she said, happy birthday. That's an automatic trigger. And you just type happy birthday. If you put other text in it, then it may not trigger that effect. But just the words happy birthday without anything else will trigger the birthday balloons effect, and I could say to Sarah, like, I could, let me get in my
camera app 0 0.
Oop.
Message vertical
Okay,
camera 0.
all right, so I got my camera there.
Message text field. Message text field is editing. iMessage insertion point at start.
So I could say congratulations. And let's read that, make sure I got it.
Congratulations.
And nothing else. And I could send.
App message. Send button. Send message. Dictate button. Full screen effect. Multicolored confetti cascades from above. Your iMessage. Congratulations.
And so it even tells me what the effect is and plays the effect on my screen. Plus it plays it for Sarah when she opens the message. And if you
cap up drink.
And happy
here,
anniversary is one. Happy New Year's is another.
Yes. Happy anniversary, New Year. I think is 4th of July. I think that may be one also. I don't know. There's a bunch of different phrases. Yeah. And then you also can manually do this. Like if I just type something that doesn't trigger an effect, instead of double tapping the send button, what you want to do is you're going to long press the send button. Remember, we learned about that long press gesture. It's a one finger, either double tap and hold, or just a quick triple tap with VoiceOver. And without VoiceOver, you just tap and hold. And if I do that on the send icon, it gives me choices of different effects that I can send. And there are two different kinds of effects that I can send. I can send bubble effects and screen effects. Bubble effects are specific to the message bubble for the for the message that you sent at that moment. Screen effects are full screen. They do something on the whole screen. So I can send those, and it is really a cool feature. Manually do that as well if I don't want to necessarily use a phrase that triggers it automatically. Now, one of the other things I want to cover, and we as I said, there's so much in messages. I mean, just tons and tons of things, and I can't teach you all of it. And I'm not even sure that it's wise to try, because I think what we'll do if we do that is we'll just end up overwhelming you, right? And you really then haven't learned anything, because you are just so focused on, we learned so much today that I can't process it all. I think really the best way to learn this stuff, guys, is to play with it for yourself. You can read the documentation that Rita posted. It's excellent. You can read Apple's documentation. You can read, you can watch videos about it. You can go to Apple Viz. There's all kinds of ways. But at the end of the day, I truly believe there's no substitute for experience, for playing with it for yourself. But I do want to show you a couple other things. And one of the things I want to show you is the audio recording, primarily because it's changed significantly in iOS 16. And I've seen a lot of people unsure how to use it. It used to be right in the conversation on an iMessage in place of the send button. Before you typed any text in the edit field, it would just say record audio. Well, that's been changed to dictate. And iMessage audio recordings have now become a message app. So the first step in accessing the audio recordings within messages are you have to show the app drawer. Now, I will point out that this is not the same as dictation, right? Dictation is text to speech. It's speech recognition. I say, hello, how are you? And it actually writes those words in the edit field as if I had typed them myself. Audio recording is it's going to send my voice. Well, the other thing I should point out is that this is not the same as attaching an audio file, as I discussed earlier. You can record something in voice memos, or maybe you made a song in GarageBand. You want to attach that as audio through the app. You can do that. We are talking here about a recording that is built right into the Messages app. The person receives it as an audio recording. They can listen to it, and it expires 2 minutes after they've listened to it, unless they choose to keep it or they go in and change that setting. So this is the audio recorder feature of Messages. It's only for iMessage, Apple to Apple, and it's in the app bar. So we have to first make sure we have an empty message field here.
Heading not found. iMessage. Message. Text field is editing. iMessage. Apps. Button.
We're going to swipe to the left and show the app drawer.
Apps.
Now that we've shown it, we swipe right and we can see
message text field is editing iMessage. Dictate button, apps, photos button, store button.
So the first one is photos, and that again, allows us to access our photo library and send and receive photos and videos from our photo library. And then the next thing I have here,
iMessage dictate apps, photos button.
our puppy sees somebody outside, folks. I'm sure you can hear that. But let's.
Store button.
There's the store, so I can actually go into the App Store and view iMessage apps. Specifically, a lot of apps that are on the App Store have iMessage apps for them. Now,
Apple Cash button.
There's the Apple Cash app where we can send and receive money.
Fitness button.
There's the fitness app in iMessage.
Audio button.
There's audio, and that's the one that we are going to demonstrate for you right now. Now, I will tell you before I choose this that when you choose an app in the app bar or app drawer, that app is displayed in a sort of mini app view at the bottom of the screen where the most important functions are displayed. There's also an expand button, okay? That mini app view is called an app card, okay? And it basically means that it's like a card style that is overlaying everything else that is on the screen. So in the case of audio, when I double tap that, there's going to be an app card for audio at the bottom of the screen that'll have some of the buttons that I need, and that will overlay everything else that's on the screen. But there's also going to be an expand button near the bottom of the screen that will take that app card full screen, and it will provide additional functionality. So there are two ways to send your audio messages. The first way is once I show this app card to simply double tap on the record button, and I don't have to hold my finger down. I just double tap and I say whatever I want to say, and then I double tap a second time and it stops recording. This allows me to play back the recording for review, to delete it if I don't like it and start again, or of course to send the audio recording. The other way to do it is to hold your finger down. But what you're going to discover very quickly is that doesn't work unless you first expand the app card. It'll say that it's working, but it actually doesn't. You have to first expand the app card to do it that way. And when you do, you double tap and hold. And as soon as you release your finger, it instantly sends the message. That is very important because it wasn't that way prior to iOS 16. But in version 16, it's a quick shortcut for sending the message. But you just have to understand that you aren't going to have an opportunity to review the message when you do it that way. So let's demonstrate both ways. I'm going to show this app.
Audio button.
Double tap on it.
Tap or hold to record.
It already puts my focus down there near the bottom of the screen.
Emoji button.
No, it actually doesn't. I'm sorry.
Audio.
I thought it did, but it just was telling me that. So I want to lift up my finger and sort of bring it down to the bottom, almost near the bottom edge, but a little bit higher.
Record.
And I found,
Tap or hold to record.
see, it even says tap or hold to record, but let's swipe to the right.
Record.
That's as far to the right as we can go. Let's go left.
Expand.
There's my expand button,
More button.
and there's other apps.
Expand.
So there's my expand button. So
Record.
here's record. And what I can do is I can just double tap record and then double tap again with one finger.
Stop.
Hello, everybody. I'm doing a quick audio recording demonstration.
Play.
And now I hit stop, and you heard it say play.
Play.
That's where I am.
Play. Pause. Play.
Okay.
Play.
Now,
Message. Vertical.
if I tap up by my message conversation, if I go back up to where the edit field is
Apps. Message. iMessage. Text field.
and swipe right,
iMessage. Dictate. Apps. Photos. Dictate. iMessage. Apps. Camera. Messages. Vertical. Delivered.
we should have had
3. Your iMac delivered. Heading level 3.
the recording. And I'm not,
Play. Let expand.
I might actually have to expand the app card to see
Pause.
why that didn't work. I think I may have recorded over it. I don't know what I did. Let me check it out here, guys.
Play. Message. iMessage. Dictate. Apps. Store. Apple Cash. Fitness.
All right. It looks like even now it's not even,
Play.
let me expand the app
Expand.
card now because for
Expand.
some reason,
Apps.
Okay, now it's expanded, so it says collapse. It becomes collapse. I might have to force quit if it doesn't work. I don't know what happened there.
Audio messages. Heading.
All right.
Close button. 0 seconds. Edge play. Play.
Let's see if it works now.
Pause.
All right. Yeah, I might.
Pause. 0 seconds. Close. Audio messages. Collapse. Collapse. 0 seconds. Edge pause.
I don't know whether I'm going to have to probably force quit the app here because I'm not sure what happened there, guys. I apologize for that, but that's okay. We're going to try it again. I force quit. And I'm still in Sarah's message, so we're going to just do the whole thing over. And I've got audio here. We will
record. Expand.
We will try it again.
Stop.
And I think it appears that it's working this time. I hope so.
Audio.
Okay, yeah, I think it worked that time. Yeah, it did. I don't know what happened, guys. Just a random glitch, but it worked fine this time. So if I tap, this is what I was going to say before. If I tap up by the edit field of the message, up higher on the screen near the middle.
Apps. Camera. Apps. Button.
Remember that? Camera and apps. I swipe to the right.
Delete audio recording. Button.
That's what I was looking for, and it wasn't there before. But delete audio recording would remove it.
Recording length. 4 seconds.
There it tells me how long it was.
Send. Button.
I can send it.
Apps. Photo.
And of course, down at the bottom of the screen
Play.
is that play button where it was record before. And I think it appears that it's working this time. I hope so. And so you can hear that. That didn't work the first time either. So I don't know what, just a random glitch, but everything's good now. Praise God. So you can play the message back by using the play button down at the bottom of the screen. And then you can go up to where the message edit field typically is. And you can, if I don't want that, I can
delete audio.
Delete it,
button.
or I can
Recording. Send. Button.
Send it. Now I'm going to delete it because I want to show you the other way of sending it.
Delete audio recording. But apps. Audio.
Okay, so now it's gone. And there is a button down here
Record.
called record again now because we deleted the recording. So there's nothing to play. But I want to expand the app card.
Expand. Collapse.
And now I want to show you.
Audio messages. Head close. 0 seconds. Close button.
There's a close button.
0 seconds. Edge record. Record.
We are going to long press this time, and I'm going to talk while I have my finger held down. And as soon as I let go, as soon as I release, it's going to send that message instantly without any hesitation. And it's actually going to say to me when I do double tap and hold, it's going to say release to send or something like that. But I'm wondering here. Hold on. Okay, that's the notification. All right, let's just do this.
Tap or hold to record.
All right, so I'll hold my finger.
0 set record.
I'll hold my finger down.
Tap or hold to record.
I don't know if you'll hear VoiceOver say release to send or not, but it will say something like that.
Release to send.
Yep, it's saying release to send. I'm recording as we speak. I'm about to let my finger off the button in 3, 2, 1. And it already went, it already sent just that quickly. If I swipe left, I'm going to hide my apps because I don't need to show them now. And there's the keep button for what I sent to Sarah. There's the message.
Message. Audio message. 3:30 p.m.
You double tap to play it. Yep. It's saying release to send. I'm recording as we speak. To let my finger off the button in 3, 2, 1. Okay. And if I swipe right.
Delivered. Speaker on button.
Oh, I can toggle between the speaker and the earpiece.
Delivered. Keep button.
There's where I can choose to keep that message lest it expire in 2 minutes. So once it expires, it just appears as though you never even sent it. You would never even know. But that is how easy it is to send an audio recording both ways with a simple double tap and just talk. I don't know. I think I remember that there is still a limit on these audio recordings. I don't know if the length is 2 minutes or if I'm just making that up and I, thought I saw it and it isn't actually there. I don't know. But I do know that you can, double tap without holding. And then that way you can review the message and stuff. Or if you want to, you can expand the app card and send by holding your finger down. When you release, it instantly sends. You can also use Siri, by the way, to make audio recordings. You just tell Siri, send an audio message to Sarah, and then she'll start recording for you. And you can send that way. Now, what if we send something we did not really mean to send, and we suddenly sent the wrong message to somebody and, we really didn't want to send it at all. Well, we can unsend our messages as long as we do it within, I think, 2 minutes of the moment that they were sent. We can also edit our messages within a short period of time. We can actually edit the existing messages we've sent, and the recipient will see that they're edited. But you can, if you unsend, they won't even see it at all unless they got to it before you unsent it. Now, this is only going to work for devices that are on iOS 16. And that means that if the recipient is not on iOS 16 and you try to unsend a message, they may still have it because they're not on the latest version. So if I go over here to the edit field,
camera, apps, message, text field, insertion point at end.
And let's suppose that we have food in the oven and I want to tell everybody in the family that dinner is ready. And I accidentally send that message to Sarah instead of the family. I wonder if that's my son coming in, because he actually was going to do something else today, but I bet he's coming in, guys. So just allow me a minute here to pause and not pause, but to mute and say hello to him. And then I will be right back. 1 minute there, guys. And I will even pause the recording so that it's a very clean recording. Right back, guys. Okay, there we go. All right, so back to what I was going to demonstrate. I'm demonstrating that we can unsend the message once we've sent it. And, so I'm going to send dinner is ready to Sarah, which, of course, she's welcome to come for dinner, but getting all the way from her home to here by dinner time is probably not very likely. So it's probably not really intended for her. But we send it to her, and then we realize that. So let's do. Okay. Now I accidentally forgot the R there. Okay, I made it capitalized. Look, it tried to help me, but it just didn't know what. Okay, we're good.
Message text field is editing. Dinner is ready.
So I send this to Sarah.
Send message. Dictate.
And I look back at my conversation and I realize, oh, I'm talking to the wrong person. I don't really mean to send that to her. So I swipe up and down when I'm highlighting the message I want to unsend. Use the rotor.
React, reply, undo send.
Undo send. And I double tap.
Effect. Your iMessage. Dinner is ready.
And it disappeared.
And it is gone. And you know what really was neat? I don't know if you heard this on Zoom, but it actually made a little sound, a little like just a cute little like done. It was really cool. And I never heard that before. So I don't know if that's new in 16.1 or if I just didn't pay attention to it. Of course, I've had 16.1. Yeah, exactly. Just yep. And edit is also going to be in those. I think in order to get edit, I think you have to long press. Let me send you one more message. Again, because to say testing. I'm just going to say testing.
Send, but send out deliver your iMessage testing. React, reply, undo, copy, translate, more, drag, activate.
Yeah, I think you got a long press instead of up and down with the rotor.
Reply, heart, thumbs up, thumbs. Undo, send, edit, button.
Yeah, and then there's an edit option.
Copy, translate, more, camera.
Okay, so that is another option you get if you long press, which means I can actually edit what I've sent instead of just unsending it. And I read an article recently that someone had posted saying that this person writing the article thought that the unsend option was better than the edit option because technically the recipient can tap on the edited bubble and they can see the previous revisions. And so if you had something, you really said something horribly inappropriate and changed your mind, that editing wasn't really the way to go, that unsending would be the best move there. But in most cases, it probably isn't as big of a deal as that. And, it doesn't matter if people see the revisions that you've made, but just that in mind.
Also,
when
a
you
lot
are
of
dealing with
times
those.
when people dictate their messages and don't go through and see if it dictated correctly. So, for instance, there was a message this morning that said something about being said, SAID, and then he sent another message with, you basically do like then asterisks, sad. You meant to say sad.
Right.
And so now you don't have to do that. When you
Correct.
reread it after you've sent it, which is, it happens, but you reread it after you've sent it, and you see, oh, I didn't mean to say grandmother. I meant to say, whatever else you meant to say, grand piano.
Right.
And you go back in and edit that instead of sending another text.
Right. So. And that is a great example. That's an excellent use of it because, we've all done that. I mean, we tell you guys, read your messages before you send them and fix the errors, but we've all done that. We've all sent a message without reading it for the sake of time or whatever. And then there's something in it that, maybe we didn't mean to say. And sad versus said, that's a great example because, somebody's accent could lead Siri to, or just the dictation, AI thing to misquote us there. So yeah, instead of doing the separate message with the word said and then a star, you can just, go back and edit that message. That's actually a brilliant example of why we might want to use that feature. So
now that's the first and only time I will be called brilliant this entire week, probably year.
Well, you never know. The week's just starting out.
That's true.
But that is, guys, I don't want to overwhelm. We may come back to messages on Wednesday and spend more time with it, and play with some of the other features, or we may not. We'll see, what kind of things people want to learn. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to, as I said, the longer I've been doing this, because look, believe it or not, I actually don't think I know everything. Okay. And I realize that I can always grow and always learn, and one of the things that I've learned over the years is that I can just give too much information because I'm so passionate about this. And I'd love for you to know every feature and I'd love for you to make use of every feature. And I see people on the list say, oh, well, you can't do this with your phone. And yes, you can, and I want to help you to see that. So I want to show you, how to play with animojis and memojis. And I want to show you how to send message effects and how to share play in messages so that you can be listening to a song at the same time as somebody else across the country. And you can be texting about that song in real time while you're both listening in real time or watching a movie together in real time. I want to demonstrate all that stuff. But guys, what I've learned is that it can just be overwhelming, right? It just can be too much information at one time. And at the end of the day, I've done you more of a disservice because you don't remember how to do it anyway, right? And no matter how many times you go back and listen, you've got to play with it for yourself. You've got to explore. And so it's always about finding the balance of how much information we give, enough to be useful, and then let you play, without overwhelming you, but still showing you that these things are possible. And so, it's hard to say. And maybe after this year's class, back and look and say, I didn't give you enough information. Or maybe you'll say, I didn't give you enough information. We're open to that feedback. But I'm trying to do this in a way that shows you and exposes you to the possibilities, but most importantly, that teaches you how to learn for yourself. That it's possible, because I just said it, to do a share play right within messages, which means listening to a song in Apple Music or watching a movie together with people who are not even in the same, close proximity. And you can do it in FaceTime, and now you can do it in the Messages app. That it's possible to, put your facial expressions on the face of a monkey, or to make your own memoji, which is your own, face, and you can put eye color and hair length, and you can put, facial piercings, and you can put, glasses and makeup and, all of these different things. And then you can record a sticker or a video with your own facial expression. So it's the face you created, but it's your smile, or it's your, sticking your tongue out, or whatever it is that you do. And so, now that that's possible, that it's possible to send and receive money with Apple Cash right in the Messages app, or using Siri. By the way, I think that feature was kind of broken in 15, but I haven't tried it in 16. I'm hopeful it's fixed, but you can definitely do it in the Messages app. You can definitely do it in the Wallet app. And it uses iMessage, so all of these things It's incredible what is possible. And we may, as I said, revisit some of it on Wednesday. I know that if Rita's here, she loves the Animoji and Memoji feature that I was just talking about. So maybe she'll want to, take the stage for a few minutes and talk about that. I just don't want to overwhelm you. And what I really want to do is go to questions and see what we can answer. Remember to explore. Never forget. And it's going to keep coming back in almost every app that we learn through the duration of this course, all through whatever this course ends after Thanksgiving, whatever exactly that's going to be. And any other course we teach, this is going to come up. Do not forget to try the rotor and to try the long press gesture. Okay, again, that is for VoiceOver users, a double tap and hold or a triple tap. Okay, and do not assume that the rotor and the long press menu are the same, because they're not always. A lot of times the most important features are found in the rotor that are also in the context menu, but sometimes there's additional ones, like you heard the edit option was not in the rotor, but it was in the long press menu. So you really need to try both, and don't assume that one is exactly the same as the other.
Also, it doesn't,
Sarah,
sometimes,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes when you're in a different app, sometimes when you're in a different app, the rotor won't come up with those possibilities. For instance, what is it? Select, what's the word, Matt?
A text selection or
text selection. So sometimes that doesn't come up in certain apps or certain places in that app. And
right, because that rotor has to be programmed by the app developer, and if the app developer doesn't know to do that, then the rotor is going to be very, very slim compared to what it could be. Yeah.
Or if you're in a phase of whatever app you're in where text selection is not appropriate, or what wasn't thought of to be a reasonable choice, you probably have to use a go around and figure out a different way of text selection, and it won't be on the rotor.
Exactly.
So there are other ways of doing things, which is what is so fabulous about this system is, as human beings, we also get to make our choices on how we approach whatever problem or activity we're using or approaching.
Yep. You got it. That's right. All right. Well, these hands are going up. So let's.
Okay. I will again try and do this.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Howard, I think I sent